The Longmen Grottoes are located in Henan, one of the most populated provinces in central China. One day, 1300 years ago, the Tang Empress Wu Zetian came to Longmen, Henan, to preside over the ceremony for the completion of the Fengshan Temple Cave. At the time, the people in Luoyang reportedly saw a bright light in the morning sky that stretched along the Yi River for dozens of miles. Under the Empress's gaze, the Vairocana Buddha revealed her compassionate smile to the world for the first time. Longmen, meaning Dragon's Gate, got its name from the two nearby mountains resembling a stone gate. It took 400 years to complete the Longmen Grottoes, a period of time spanning the Northern Wei, Eastern and Western Wei, Northern Zhou, Northern Qi, Sui and Tang dynasties. There are over 2,100 caves. They contain large numbers of Buddhist statues, inscribed stone tablets, and pagodas. Sculpting in the Longmen Grottoes started in Guyang Cave. In September of the year 493, the ruler of a nomadic tribe gained control of most parts of northern China, and he moved his capital to Luoyang. Consequently, craftsmen who worked on the grottoes in Shanxi province also moved to the new capital to work on the Longmen Grottoes. This ruler, known as Emperor Xiaowen, built the Guyang Cave in memory of his grandmother, who had died 3 years before. Sitting high in the middle of the cave in a meditative pose is Buddha Sakyamuni. A handsome bodhisattva stands quietly on each side. The physiques of the statues in the Longmen Grottoes are already not as slim as those of the Yungang Grottoes, but looking at all the statues, one can see that this standard of beauty was still popular during the Northern Wei dynasty. As work began on the Longmen Grottoes, Emperor Xiaowen issued a decree. He ordered people to speak the Han language, wear Han clothing, and adopt Han names. The emperor went as far as adopting a Han Chinese surname himself. Emperor Xiaowen issued this decree to better identify with the majority Han Chinese. As a member of an ethnic minority, he needed to study Han China's advanced agricultural civilization to build and maintain power. In April 497, the emperor executed a prince for political treason at Pingchang. He brutally put down the efforts of the Xianbei nobles to oppose his efforts to adopt the ways of the Han. These Buddhist statues clearly record the path of Emperor Xiaowen as he abandoned the rough ways of nomadic life and pursued the more elegant and refined ways of the Han. The more European noses seen in the Wudang grottos become more rounded in the Longmen grottos. This not only better reflected the kindness of the Buddha, but also the desire to be more like the Han. The somewhat rough style of the apsaras in the Wudang grottos become more graceful at Longmen to reflect the charms of Han women. Emperor Xiaowen and the Xianbei ethnic group undoubtedly opened the way for the golden age of the Sui and Tang dynasties. In the year 675, over a century after Emperor Xiaowen, Longmen again came to life when the Tang Empress Wu Zetian ordered the carving of a statue of the Vairakana Buddha. This statue is over 17.14 meters tall. The head alone is 4 meters tall and the ears are 1.9 meters long. The expressive eyes and slightly upturned mouth radiate solemnity, elegance, and tranquility. When she saw the completed work, Wu Zetian was awestruck. 26 years earlier, in the year 649, the Emperor Taizong had died, and a group of concubines, including Wu Zetian, were sent to Ganye Temple for the rest of their lives to pray for the late emperor as nuns. But surprisingly, Wu Zetian was brought back to the palace by Tang Emperor Gaozong Li Zhi. She gradually advanced from there to become empress. Wu Zetian felt that all of this was thanks to the blessings of the Buddha. Wu Zetian donated a relatively small amount for the Vairakana Buddha project, but many of the nobility followed her example. Thanks to this ample funding, the huge project took only 3 years and 1 month to complete. The face of the Vairocana Buddha was reportedly modelled on that of Wu Zetian. Previously, only emperors had their faces used as models for Buddhist images to show their divine right to rule. But this empress dared to have her image portrayed on this huge sculpture. Historical records indicate that Wu Zetian took over the administration of state affairs after the year 656 as Emperor Li Zhi grew weaker. Her power and influence even exceeded that of Li Zhi's, and they became referred to by the public as the Two Holy Ones. Since Wu Zetian was really the de facto ruler of the country, it is perhaps not surprising that she ordered the Vairocana Buddha to be modelled on herself. Vairocana means great wisdom and brilliance. Standing at the foot of the statue, one can feel her wisdom from any angle. Later, Wu Zetian changed her name to Wu Jiao. The character Jiao was specially created for her and means the sun and the moon. Like Vairocana, she hoped to bring warmth and light to the world. The statue of the disciple Kasyapa is 10.3 meters tall and sits on the left side of the Vairocana Buddha. Although the body of the statue is in poor condition, his rigorous, prudent and weather-beaten appearance is still apparent. Standing on the right side of Vairocana is the disciple Ananda. This disciple has a plump face with attractive eyes and a divine radiance. Manjushri and Samantabhadra stand next to the Kasyapa and Ananda statues. The statues of Manjushri and Samantabhadra are each 13.25 meters tall. With their full figures and dignified and elegant appearance, they resemble aristocratic Tang dynasty women. They are wearing a lotus crown and a jade and pearl necklace. In the Tang dynasty, the physique of statues was very important. This is evident in the statues of malas, meaning strong men, in Fengxian Temple. People in the Tang dynasty believed that the source of a man's strength was in the muscles of the neck and abdomen. For this reason, the neck and stomach muscles are emphasized in these statues. The 11 statues form an integral group representing the highest level of grotto art in China. The sculptors boldly broke religious taboos by combining elements of an ideal world and the real world, clearly revealing the glory of the world-famous Tang dynasty. In this period, more and more people began carving statues with the emperor and the empress. The Cave of 10,000 Buddhas provides a good example. The Cave of 10,000 Buddhas was officially completed in November of the year 680. The main deity, Amitabha, is approximately 4 meters tall. The statue has a beautiful wavy bun and round face, reflecting Tang aesthetic values and the dignified style of Tang statue carving. The 4 malas on the lotus throne have muscular limbs, in sharp contrast with the tranquility of the main Buddha statue. "54 lotus flowers carved in the posterior wall have a bodhisattva on each branch, a novel and peculiar concept. The apsaras on the outside of the tablets on the roof offer fruit to the heavens. On the lower part of each wall are 6 Gandharvas playing musical instruments. Carved in the north and south walls, there are over 15,000 Buddha statues, each about 4 centimeters tall. Together with the apsaras and Gandharvas, they depict people achieving Buddhahood in the Western paradise. Emperor Gaozong died on December the 22nd, 683. Some ministers knew that the empress wanted to replace the emperor, but the ministers could not reach agreement on this matter. Some recognized Wu Zetian's courage and strategy and believed she would be a good ruler, but others thought that her rise to the throne would insult heaven and earth and break ancestral traditions. One night in June 688, an engraved stone was recovered from the Sichuan River in Henan. The inscription said that Wu Zetian was the reincarnation of Maitreya and deserved to be the ruler of the land. According to Buddhism, Maitreya will become the master of the next universe by replacing Sakyamuni. In other words, Maitreya is the Buddha of the future. During the reign of Emperor Gaozong, many Maitreya statues appeared in the Longmen Grottoes, and predominantly male bodhisattvas in the Northern Wei dynasty became female and were modelled on geishas and female court performers. Wu Zetian contributed greatly to construction of these idols for the people, but she obviously had personal reasons for doing so. In the year 690, Wu Zetian ascended the throne by popular acclaim. For centuries, only men had sat on the throne, but now a woman sat serenely on the imperial throne. Wu Zetian was then 66 years old. In history, this period became known as the regime of the Zhou dynasty. With Wu Zetian on the throne, the Longmen Grottoes experienced another tide of artistic creation. Wu Zetian arranged work to fill the gaps on the West Hill with shrines, and she ordered that sculpting on the East Hill begin. As work on the grottos progressed, Wu Zetian's self-granted titles became even more grandiose. She even called herself the Maitreya. She developed an extreme personality cult. Located on the East Hill is Middle Legu Tai Cave. It is also known for its 15,000 small Buddha statues. These statues were created as a tribute to the Empress. The main deity is Maitreya. Unfortunately, the statue's head was stolen in the 1930s. It's now in the collection of the Asian Art Museum of San Francisco. The statues, carved as high relief, are surrounded by Gandharvas, Apsaras, and boys riding elephants and lions. A lotus flower carrying a bodhisattva extends from each side of the throne. On the roof, lutes, cymbals, and other musical instruments float around the lotuses, symbolizing how they play themselves in the Buddhist world. The Apsaras dance gently and gracefully to the music. Wu Zetian, with her bold vision, took her Zhou dynasty to a pinnacle in China's feudal society. Kanjing Temple, the largest grotto on the East Hill, is roughly square in shape. Unlike other grottos from the same period, the main statues are on an altar in the centre of the ground rather than on the front wall. Study of the cave shows that it was dedicated to Zen Buddhism, and it emulates a Zen meditation hall. The rise of Zen Buddhism marked a critical step in adapting Buddhism to China, as Buddhism became an integral part of Chinese culture alongside Confucianism and Taoism. The 29 arhats in the grotto seem to correspond with the 29 patriarchs of Zen. Each arhat is about 1.8 meters high and has a unique expression. They reflect the rise of Zen Buddhism following the Tang dynasty. During the first month of the year 705, Empress Wu Zetian returned the throne to the Li family. Her last command was to have all her titles removed except Empress. Ten months later, Wu Zetian died. She was buried with her husband in Qianling Mausoleum with a blank tombstone nearly 8 meters high as a marker. Some said that she wanted to keep it blank for later generations to comment on her reign, but others said that it reflected her understanding of the true Buddhist meaning of nothingness. With the passing of Wu Zetian, the greatest period of statue building in the Longmen grottos during the Tang dynasty ended. Wu Zetian's last unfinished project is a true reflection of that part of history, and it tells the story of a remarkable and ever-changing era.